Hello, everyone. So let me ask you one question. Let us say you are supposed to help a team where they are using Jira software, Jira work management, Jira service management. It doesn't really matter, and uh, and they of course have no access, no administration, no Jira administration access to that instance. And of course, uh, it's a common situation with a lot of teams. They are using Jira, and I'm basically making this video from the perspective of the teams, not really the Jira administrators. So let us say you're a team, or maybe your project in Jira is fine. You're using it, but you need to customize it. And you know it can be done because maybe in your previous organization you were using Jira, which was highly customized. But when you joined this new team or new organization or whatever, you are supposed to manage a project, but Jira is used without much customizations, without a lot of apps. Now, I encounter these situations a lot where I work with people, especially managers, test managers, release managers, QA managers, people who are actually responsible for delivery. I mean, they have to answer questions. They are responsible. They have the ownership. And if you're working, let us say, for a big company where you can, of course, use a tool like Jira, but you will only use it with limited standard templates. So you will not really have like your own customized workflow. You will not really have your own customized version of hierarchy in Jira. So in these cases, I know it can be a bit difficult, but you can definitely look at various things that you can do in Jira, like using components. Component is a very nice way to break up your project. You can take a look at, uh, of course, the fixed versions or releases, because not many people are able to use these features, and they are not always able to make sure how to use and when to use components. Now, apart from using components and versions, because if you are a Jira project administrator, you should be able to use it. But if you have project administration rights, then you also can add, or basically you can modify the workflow slightly, not really a lot, but slightly, as long as uh, that particular workflow is not really used by other teams. So you can modify the workflow, but you can only add a new status which is already there in your Jira instance. You can't really modify a workflow condition or validator or a post function. That is, of course, not really possible. At the same time, if you're using a screen, uh, which is not really used by any other project, you can also add more fields to your your project. For example, if you want to use Jira for planning, right? Now, when you're making a plan, you might want to store end date. For end date, you can most likely use due date uh, for a lot of things. But apart from using a due date, take a look at whether in your Jira instance, do you have something like maybe end date. So most likely you will have fields like start date or end date or target start, target end, and these fields come from advanced roadmaps. And talking about advanced roadmaps, if you're on Jira Data Center or on-prem version of Jira, you should have advanced roadmaps now or plans. And if you have advanced roadmaps, then you can definitely use the features of the advanced roadmaps, where you can create a plan where you can basically have like a single view of what is happening, not just in one project but multiple projects. So do use advanced roadmaps a lot. Uh, First, try to understand it and try to evaluate it. But if you think advanced roadmaps can be used, use it, because it will give you those additional features, like of course planning the work, but also advanced roadmaps. Lot of people I know, they use advanced roadmaps for view of everything. With status, you can have different views that you can save. You can share that particular view. You can embed your advanced roadmap plan in Confluence. You can also create, you can basically, of course, create these views like capacity management view as long as you're following sprints properly and you're estimating it properly. It won't really work without feeding the right number to a plan. And there's something called as dependency map. A lot of people ask me, how do I manage my dependencies? So if you're using advanced route maps, there is a dependency map view that can actually show you things nicely. It's not really, to be honest, great, but it works. And when I say it's not great, I'm basically giving you an example of, I'm not really sure if you have seen Story. So there are like a couple of apps from Easy Agile, like Story Map and Easy Agile. I forgot the name of the app. I think it comes with Story Map, Easy Agile app. In that particular app, there is a view where you can see the dependencies, but those dependencies are also aligned by the sprints they're supposed to be part of. So, for example, if you're waiting for something from another team, and that team is going to deliver it in a future sprint, but you need it in this sprint, then of course that dependency is of course useless. It's a risk. You won't be able to proceed further. So that particular view will give you this option. But apart from all this, you can always use features of Jira like create filters and subscriptions and get notifications, and also use dashboards, right? Your own customized reports. Learn how to use JQL, because Jira might not be configured the way you want it to work, but you can still find some gaps by looking at those reports. And learning JQL is really important. If you know how to work on JQL, if you know functions, if you know how to get all the issues of an epic, if you can find all the linked issues of a specific type, and if you are using, let us say, script runner for Jira, then you will have access to plenty of other functions. So JQL is definitely important. In some cases, if you also have access to EasyBI, then you can always build your own customized reports. So apart from doing all this, lot of people don't really use labels. Labels, I know they are not massively, uh, I mean, when you're using labels, you have to be a bit careful, because anyone can add a label, anyone can remove a label. But labels can be a really nice way to categorize your issues, apart from the standard fields that you have, or apart from the custom fields that you can't really modify, or apart from the statuses that you can't really use or add in your workflow. You can add labels. So labels can be used to define, let us say, scope, or maybe you can use labels to define the teams. And what you can do is you can define some nomenclature for labels, like let us say, to define a scope, you can have something like scope hyphen uh, October, scope hyphen November, and so on, or quarters, right? Or you can have something like team 1, team 2. So have some kind of a nomenclature and ask people to follow it. And most important thing is that if you're trying to use Jira in a consistent way, but you don't really have a way to enforce uh, any rules, like do this, do that, this field should be mandatory, then create like a guidance page for your team members to follow. Like uh, that particular guidance page will try to help your team members. Okay, if I have to create a story, I mean, of course, I'm not really asking you to read that guidance page all the time, but educate your team members. And I think that is the responsibility of maybe scrum masters or project managers. They have to be on top of things. And that is why I say that Jira can definitely be used for. So Jira is an issue tracking tool. You can do project management using Jira, but Jira is not really going to do the project management for you. And and I think a lot of people actually miss that part. They expect Jira to do the project management for them, which is of course not really going to happen. So yeah, these are some of my ideas, and I thought I'll probably talk about it in this video today. Let me know if you have any questions about not having enough rights in your Jira instance. Try to use or learn how to live within those constraints, because you might not always get all the flexibility to customize Jira project the way you want. All right, that is all. That is all I wanted to talk. That is all I wanted to talk about today. Bye bye.